All right, so we're going to work out some special products. All right, this is really just an extension of what we did in the previous lesson with multiplying polynomials. These are just special cases of what you might see when you're multiplying some polynomials. All right, so the first one is the product of a sum and a difference. Notice that we have a plus and a minus here, but everything else is the same. It's always going to work out to be a squared minus b squared. And for all of these, you can just FOIL and multiply it out instead of memorizing the special products, but it's your choice. If you want to memorize the special products, that's fine. If you don't want to, you then just multiply it out. Sorry, so something like the next one, a plus b squared, is going to be a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. All right, one big mistake that I see is people take that square and distribute it to each term. All right, you cannot distribute an exponent to terms, but what you can do instead is you can write it twice and FOIL it. So if I have a plus b times a plus b, and you FOIL it, you will get something like a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, right? That's a pattern that works every single time. The same thing with a minus b squared, right? Same thing, just with a minus. All right, again, you would just write it twice and you would FOIL it. Same exact thing with a plus b to the third. You don't want to distribute that exponent of 3 to each term. You want to actually write it 3 times. So a plus b times a plus b times a plus b, and distribute. FOIL and then distribute, doing one at a time. Same thing with the minus, right? If you want to memorize the special product, it's going to look like this if it's a plus b, and it's going to look like this if it's a minus b, right? So same things, just with a minus, alternating minus signs instead of a plus. All right, so let's try this first page. Shouldn't be too difficult. I have an x and an x, a 3 and a 3. One has a plus, one has a minus, so it's going to be x squared minus 3 squared, so x squared minus 9. And that's using your special product. Now, if you didn't understand that, you can, of course, just FOIL it. If I did first times first, that's x squared. Outer times the outer, that's negative 3x. Inner times the inner, that's plus 3x. And last times the last, that's minus 9. But, of course, the middle two terms cancel out, and so you're left with x squared minus 9. This is the one special product that I do like to memorize and that I like to apply instead of FOILing it. All right, but it's your choice. All right, so for the next one, I'll just FOIL it and we'll see what we get, right? 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times negative 5 is negative 10x. 5 times 2x is plus 10x. And 5 times negative 5 is minus 25, right? And then minus 10 plus 10 cancel out, and so we get 4x squared minus 25. All right, now, of course, you can memorize the special product if you want to. All right, I'll show you how that would work in the next one. All right, so the next one, I'm going to use a special product. I'm not going to FOIL it. We're going to do 4a times 4a. So 16a squared minus 5b times 5b, 25b squared. All right, and that's all we had to do. So square of the first minus square of the second. I'll do the exact same thing with number 4, and you're going to see, right? 3x squared times 3x squared is 9x to the fourth, minus 4y times 4y is 16y squared, instead of having to FOIL it out. All right, so that's why I like this one, just because it's easy to remember. And right, FOILing it might take a little bit more time, but it's not any more difficult. All right, but I like this particular special product because it does make it a lot faster. All right, so now we have the square of a binomial. Again, you never, ever, ever want to take that 2 and distribute it to each of these terms, right? That is absolutely incorrect. What you do want to do instead is write it twice and multiply it. All right, so 6x minus 5 times 6x minus 5, and I would FOIL it. And then what we would get is 36x squared minus 30x, another minus 30x, and a plus 25. And now here, your middle term does not cancel out. So we get 36x squared minus 60x plus 25. All right, so completely different answer than if you were to take that square and distribute it to each term. All right, same thing with the next one. I don't want to distribute that square. I just want to write it twice and FOIL it. All right, so doing this, first times the first is 25. Outer times the outer is minus 40x. Inner times the inner is another minus 40x. And last times the last is positive 64x squared. And then combine like terms. The minus 40 and the minus 40 get you a minus 80x. Bring down the 25, bring down the 64x squared. All right, so this is an acceptable answer. if in the directions it specifies to write in standard form, you do want to write the 64x squared first. Right, so standard form, highest exponent goes first, so this is fine as well. But they mean the exact same thing, right? You can really do whatever you want if the directions don't specify. Even if it does even if it doesn't specify, you can still write it in standard form, right? They're equally correct. All right, so I'll try the same thing with the next one. All right, so I'm gonna try to write it twice and FOIL it. So 8x plus 3 times 8x plus 3, and then you FOIL it. 8x times 8x is 64x squared. 8x times 3 is 24x. Inner times the inner is another 24x, and last times the last is the 9. So then I get 64x squared plus 48x plus 9 when you combine like terms. I'll show you with this next one how it would work if you used a special product. You can use the special product if you want to, right? That is the topic of this lesson, all right? But you don't have to use it if you don't want to. Keep in mind a plus b squared is the same as a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. In this case, a is 3x, b is 4y. So I can just plug in a and b into this formula right here. And so we would end up with 3x squared plus 2 times ab, so 2 times 3x times 4y, plus 4y squared. Again, you don't have to do this. You can just keep foiling it if that's what you prefer to do. But I'll just show you the special product in this one. And then simplifying would get you a 9x squared. 2 times 3x is 6x, times 4y is 24xy. And then 4y squared is just 4y times 4y, so 16y squared. And then that would get you your answer for this one. You don't have to do it this way. You can just write it twice and FOIL it if that's what you prefer, but some people like to memorize the special product, so that's how you do it that way. But to verify, if you like foiling it, just FOIL it, verify that you get the same answer. All right, so the cubes are what get a little bit more tedious, but I'll show you that it's just tedious, right? It's not super difficult. It does work out similar to some of the other ones, but it's the same exact idea. It just takes a little bit more time to do them, right? So let's try this one. Again, one thing you cannot do is distribute that 3. Absolutely not. You do want to write it 3 times and distribute. So I'm going to get an x minus 5, x minus 5, and x minus 5. All right, I'm going to do 2 at a time, so I'm going to separate that x minus 5 at the ends, and I'm just going to do the first 2. Foiling that is going to get you x squared minus 5x plus 25. And then we get x squared minus 10x plus 25. And then I can bring down that x minus 5. And then from here is where some people might get a little bit confused. All right, you just want to take each term and distribute. So I'm going to take that x squared and distribute it to this x minus 5. Take that negative 10 and distribute it. Negative 10x and distribute it to x minus 5. And take that 25 and distribute it to x minus 5. All right, and then now I can take each of these terms on the outside and distribute. All right, so x squared distributing to x minus 5 is going to get you x to the 3rd minus 5x squared. Taking that negative 10x and distributing is going to get me a negative 10x squared minus 50x. And then taking that 25 and distributing is going to get me plus 25x minus 75. All right. Now, this should be a plus 50x. Negative times negative, positive. All right, so now let's combine like terms. Negative 5x squared minus 10x squared is negative 15x squared. And 50x plus 25x is 75x. And then nothing else combines, so I get a minus 70. Oh, that's not a 75, sorry. Keep making mistakes. All right, 125. Minus 125. All right, and then bring down the x to the 3rd. All right, so we get something like that as our final answer. So a lot of work, very tedious. If you want to avoid all this work, but you want to memorize something else instead, keep in mind the formula for our special product was a minus b to the third is a to the third minus 3a squared b plus 3ab squared minus b to the third. All right, so in this case, you could label a is x, b is 5, and then plug it into this formula here. So I get an x to the third minus 3 times x squared times 5 plus 3 times x times 5 squared minus 5 to the third. All right, and then simplifying this is going to get us x to the third minus 3 times 5 is 15, x squared. 5 squared is 25 times 3x is going to get you 75x, and then 5 to the third is 125. So you do get the exact same answer, but it takes a little bit less work. So it's up to you if you want to memorize the special product or if you want to write it 3 times and distribute. Again, your choice, it doesn't matter. I don't care which one you do as long as you get the same answer at the end. All right, so I'll try the same thing with number 10. Number 10 is 6 minus 4x to the third. So it's going to be 6 minus 4x. 6 minus 4x, 6 minus 4x. And then I want to FOIL. I'm going to just do the first two for now. So 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times negative 4 is negative 24x. Negative 4x times 6 is negative 24x. And negative 4x times negative 4x is 16x squared. All right, and then combining like terms, I get 36 minus 48x plus 16x squared, and then I can bring down that last binomial. All right, and then once again, I can take each term, distribute it. So I'm going to take that 36 and distribute it. That's going to get me a 36 times 6 minus 4x. Take that negative 48x and distribute it. That's going to get us negative 48x times 6 minus 4x. And then take that 16x squared and distribute it. That's going to get us a 6 minus 4x. All right, so big numbers here. All right, if you need to do it to the side, you can. 36 times 6 is going to get you 216. And then 36 times negative 4x is going to get you negative, what is that, 144x? All right, and then I can do the same thing over here. Negative 48x times 6. Again, you can do that off to the side if you need to, but that's going to get you negative 288x. And then negative 48 times negative 4 is going to get you a positive 192. And then x times x is x squared. Again, do it off to the side if you need to. All right, and then 16 times 6 is going to get you 96. So I get a 96x squared. And then 16x squared times negative 4x is going to get you a negative 64x to the third. All right, and then you want to combine like terms. It looks like our like terms are right beside each other. So it shouldn't be too bad to combine. This is going to get us 216. 144 plus 288 is going to get you 432. They're both negative, so it would be 432x minus. And then 192 plus 96 should get you 288 x squared. And then 64x to the third is already simplified. All right, so we get this as our final answer. If you want to write it in standard form, you can, but this is fine. In standard form would be negative 64x to the third plus 288x squared minus 432x plus 216. So that's also fine. All right, so these take a little bit of time. I'll leave the last two for you guys to do, but it's going to be the exact same idea as before. All right, so it shouldn't be anything new. All right, so just some last problems just to wrap things up. Let's use a special product on number 13, right? Notice that there's 3 factors here, but these first 2 is the product of a sum and a difference. All right, so there's an x and an x, a y and a y, 1 plus 1 minus. This is going to be the square of the first minus the square of the second. And then bring down the rest of it. This is going to be an x squared plus y squared. And then notice that we have the exact same thing, right? X squared and x squared, y squared and y squared, 1 minus 1 plus. This is going to be another product of a sum and a difference. So it's going to get you x to the 4th minus y to the 4th. The next one's just a regular product of a sum and a difference, just with, I don't know, bigger exponents, right? So first and the first, last and the last, they match. One has a minus, one has a plus. So it's going to be 6a squared times 6a squared, so 36a to the 4th minus 4b to the third. 4b to the third is going to get you 16b to the sixth. All right, that's it for this lesson. So all special products, again, you don't have to memorize the special products, but it's just different cases of what you might see when multiplying polynomials.